Today is December 8th, 2017, and I am interviewing Michael Marsh, who is 66 years old, having been born on September 4th, 1951. My name is Sue Burkholder, and I will be the interviewer. And would you please, for the recording, state what branch of service that you served in and in what war?
I was in the United States Air Force during the Vietnam Air conflict.
Okay. All right. Well, to start with, would you please just tell us a little bit about yourself, like where you were born, maybe a little bit about your parents and siblings, if you had any.
I was born in Little Rock, Arkansas. My father was in the Army during World War II under General Patton's command. My sister joined the Air Force. She was enlisted and was stationed in Washington, D.C. She was there when President Kennedy got assassinated. And my brother was in the U.S. Navy, and he got to see, I guess, see combat, because he got the combat ribbon for being in the Navy, even though he never went on island, or on, not island, but on land.
Mm-hmm. Okay. So you did have your siblings. Did you have any other family that served in the military?
Yes, but cousins and stuff like
sure.
that, and uncle. But
Sure.
like I say, a lot of them weren't in there long enough. Some retired from the military,
Mm-hmm.
but most just did their normal tour of duty.
Sure.
I had a cousin that was in the Navy Reserve, and my brother was too. And they both decided they didn't need to go to the reserve meetings, and they both got sent to California as a warning. And my brother believed them, because they said, next time you're going to go to Vietnam. My brother believed him, my cousin didn't. He went in, I think he was in country for about a week and got killed.
Mm-hmm.
So.
Okay. All right. Well, when you were growing, or when you were thinking about enlisting, were you drafted? I didn't look. Drafted, or did you enlist?
I enlisted. I was in ROTC.
Okay.
Air Force ROTC at Little Rock Central High School, and I had no desire to go to college. Just didn't much care for school, and I joined the Air Force right out of high school. Graduated in May and went in August. Just basically took the summer off and got my draft notice while I was at boot camp.
Oh, that was a little late, wasn't it?
Yes.
Okay, so you were at boot camp. Tell me about that. What was it like? Just your first few days and.
Lackland Air Force Base in San Antonio, Texas. We were told that our group went from one extreme to the other. We went from 100-degree weather to freezing weather, and like I say, my mother was coming down to visit, and she had to have emergency surgery about halfway down. And luckily, the Air Force let me go visit her while she was in the hospital during boot camp, which is usually that doesn't happen. And like I say, I kept waiting for 6 weeks to take the test that was supposed to determine what I was going to do in the Air Force. That never came, because I'd listened to our drill sergeant in ROTC, and he said, the main test would be during boot camp, and it never happened. And so at the end of 6 weeks, I'm waiting for the school that never happened, and they told me that I was going to go into aerospace refueling. And I got all excited. I said, well, I'll be on KC-135s, filling aircraft and all this. That was wrong. I ran the base service station for the first 6 months of my military career. So, pretty exciting.
And where was that at?
Norton Air Force Base after boot camp.
Okay.
Which was San Bernardino, California.
Okay. Did you go in after? How was boot camp for you? Did just kind of?
It was easy. I grew up out in the country, so it wasn't different. The Air Force is different from the other branches, in my opinion, because at that time they weren't big on going through, the obstacle courses with folks shooting over you and all that. And like I say, to me it was easy. But.
Did you go to any advanced training after boot camp?
Yeah, when I got to the Philippines, I got to go to jungle survival school, And we had another program, I really can't remember a whole lot about it, but it's supposed to be for fuel bladders on C-130s. And I can't even remember the purpose of the bladders on the C-130s, fuel bladders. But I got to go to Okinawa, Japan for some training. I can't even remember what that training was, and went to Taiwan once. So like I say, the Jungle Survival School was the coolest thing I did over in the Philippines.
Okay. All right, so you were stationed in the Philippines then for how long?
Well, first went over there TDY for 6 months. And when I first went over there, it was before martial law. And Marcos what was his name? Ferdinand Marcos was the president, and his tenure was about up, and so he declared martial law not too long after that, because they wanted to become part of the United States. And of course, that never happened, but that's what he wanted. They had their political system set up like America's, and 2 years he was out, and his second term was up, so he declared martial law, which was good for the GIs. Because when I first got over there, when you went downtown, you had to go in groups because you were going to get robbed, beat up, or something down there if you went by yourself. But after martial law, you could go down by yourself. It was safer then, at least around Angeles City, which is where Clark Air Base was. And then after the end of the TDY, went back to Norton Air Force Base, and I wasn't there a couple of weeks, and they sent me my permanent duty assignment of Clark Air Base, which I thought was a waste of time and money for them to send me all the way back to California, just turn around and go back to the Philippines.
Sure. So what was a typical day for you then?
The Air Force, like I say, to me was different because it was just like a regular civilian job. You went to work, you did your 8-hour shift, and you went back to your barracks or your home if you lived off base. And like I say, to me, it's just like a regular job. The only time it was different is when they had operation readiness inspections and stuff like that. It was, like I say, it was nice. I regret getting out, but I made the decision after being gone for 7 years to stay at home for a while.
So your job was?
Started out as fuel specialist, and that entailed many different things. It was called POL, which is supposed to be petroleum, oils, and lubricants, but we had a little different acronym for it. We called it painting, odd jobs, and landscaping, because that's what we mainly did. And like I say, the work ethic in the Air Force was a lot different than mine. My work ethic was do the job and then you relax, and their idea was this job that takes about an hour should take you all day long, and I had a problem with that. But like I say, I did everything from supervising or working at bulk fuel plants, refueled aircraft, back in big semi tankers up to aircraft to put fuel on. And we also did liquid oxygen for the aircraft. Like I say, it was mainly driving a truck around aircraft and being real careful and keep them running in aircraft.
Yeah. Did you refueling? Was there ever any issues or accidents or anything?
No, like I say, we were pretty safe. I mean, we had a procedure, and you grounded everything, and if you didn't ground stuff, you could have had a problem. But like I said, that was just pounded in your head. You ground because static electricity is not your friend when you're fooling with messing with fuels. But like I say, I wanted to get out of the fuels because it was, in our opinion, most everybody's opinion, it was on the lower food chain in the military. But the career field was frozen, which meant I couldn't cross train. We didn't get re-enlistment bonuses. We didn't get anything. We were stuck where we were at. And of course, promotion was harder to get after a certain point. But I finally did retake the first test when I went to the induction center that I was told to blow off by the master sergeant and ROTC. And then that's after they unfroze the career field is when I is when I cross trained into load master.
And what's that?
I flew on C-130, supervised the starting of the engines out on the ground and supervise the loading and securing of the load on the aircraft and positioning of it, and coordinated with the engineer on the fuel and weight of the cargo and everything, weigh the fuel. So
just to make sure it was a safe flight and
yes,
all balanced.
yes.
Okay. All right. So you talked about walking into town and that. What did you enjoy? Did you eat out in town quite a bit or some? And what did you do when you went into town?
Well, the Philippines was different. I mean, you know, you didn't know what you were eating sometimes because, you know, foreign country, third world country, you know, I just had a few simple tests I would give the food downtown. If it looked pleasing, if it smelled pleasing, and I'd take a little taste of it, tasted all right, I ate it and didn't ask any questions. You know, a lot of the food was identifiable, but some of the meats and stuff, you had no idea what it was. Because, you know, all the dogs were little short brown dogs and never saw anything different than those. And supposedly they ate a lot of dog and stuff like that over there. But now I enjoyed the Philippines because I did more than just go into the town, because the towns, you know, generally where by the base is usually where all the unsavory people like to gather, the bars and all the prostitutes and everything. And I was fortunate enough that I made friends and I got to go to some of the villages, which was interesting, you know. So
tell me about that.
Again, it was different. You know, they're very humble, very nice people. You know, I went there and they offered you food and whatever, you know, just give you everything, and they had nothing, but they'd give you everything that they had. You know, of course, they would fish in these rivers they had that were just, you know, muddy creeks, I guess, and they take a whole fish and throw it in the fire and, you know, here, have some fish. I'm like, okay, you know, it was insulting if you didn't accept, you know, and I tried everything they gave and thanked them, and like I say, it was fun. Even on base, they had a black community behind the base. They were called Negritos, and they were the only Filipinos that got to live on the base. And I got to go back there and visit those people. They were, like I say, everybody was friendly. They supposedly, the story is that during World War II, they were the ones who got the last stronghold of the Japanese off of Luzon, which is the main island. And like I said, that's the story. I don't know if it's true or not. But.
So was there anybody in particular, or any Filipino families or people that you became friends with that you enjoyed? I don't know if you did anything with them or.
Like I said, I just met different people. As far as just staying close to anybody, no. Like I say, because just it just never happened. Like I say, I met a lot of different people and did a lot of different things. We even had a base up in the mountains. It was called Baguio, and its mission is R&R, you know, rest and recuperation for, you know, guys coming from Vietnam, which was different because down in the Philippines, or down in where we were at, Angeles City, it was, you know, 80, 90, 100 degrees and humidity right there with it, and up in the mountains it was like 70 degrees, and everybody was wearing these big heavy winter parkas like you'd wear in Alaska because, you know, 60 and 70 degrees was cold to them, which it would be, you know. So, but like I say, it was nice. I played golf up at Baguio, which was different from any place else because one was so steep they had to build step levees to keep the ball from rolling all the way back downhill, and they had a big rope, one of the big nautical ropes with a motor up top that you'd grab hold of, and it'd help pull you up the hill.
Oh, wow.
So, like I say, it was interesting. It was different. You know, playing golf on the base. Had a golf course, and they had a python or boa constrictor, something slithering across the fairway. So, you know, you had your challenges up there with the animals around there. But like I say, it was fun. Like I say, I enjoyed my time over there. Wish I would have done more.
Were there any other things? If it was that warm, did you swim or just anything else to?
Yes, I learned how to scuba dive while I was over there. Went in the South China Sea where the visibility was just unlimited almost. You could see forever, and the colors were great. And Then I come back home and I'm trying to go in fresh water and visibilities, 3 or 4 foot. Every once in a while you get 20 foot, but more often it was not very good, so I quit diving because that wasn't any fun. I enjoyed all the colors in the ocean. And like I say, one of the things we had to volunteer, I guess, probably volunteered, to march in a parade where we dressed as doughboys from World War II. And they had, at that time when we were marching downtown Manila, they had the Thrilla in Manila, which is Fraser Ali fight, and they had the Miss Universe pageant there all at the same time. So, like I said, I never got to go to the fight or to the pageant or anything, but it was, it was all for part of that show.
Yeah. Were there other, at that time during Vietnam, were there USO shows or anything like that?
No, we didn't have any US shows there. We had a USO facility there on base that, we would go to. They, provided refreshments and games and, different stuff. But as far as shows, no, I don't remember any shows. But Clark was just like any other base. They had everything on there that you could want. I had 2 children born over there. I brought my wife over from the state when I got permanent duty station over there. And 2 children were born there. Of course, Filipinos loved my first daughter because her hair was basically platinum and blue-eyed, and they were just all amazed by her hair color and her eyes and everything. Everybody wanted to hold her and touch her.
Yeah. How was it for your family being in the Philippines?
All right, I guess. I never heard, of course, they were babies, so they didn't complain other than just being babies. But I've never heard the wife complain about anything. Where she was a small town girl from Louisiana, so she didn't complain much about anything. But like I say, she was over there, I guess, 2 years with me. So, like I said, it was pretty uneventful. Of course, I was stationed there. I was there when Vietnam quit in '75, and they started bringing everybody over, which got pretty busy.
Yeah. How did it get busy? In what ways?
Well, when they were evacuating about Vietnam, Clark Air Base was the main base, the closest huge, big base to handle everybody. All the planes and everything, they'd bring them there to put them on different planes or get them adjusted a little bit.
Yeah.
And like I say, it was quite busy during that time. We stayed pretty busy anyway, being the main supply base. We had other bases around in Guam and Taiwan and Okinawa, bases all over, but Clark was the main supply base.
What other functions went on at Clark Air Base?
Well, like I said, it's mainly a MAC base, just supply mainly. I can't really remember anything interesting that went on. Like I said, did the jungle survival, and I can't remember how long it was, but that was pretty interesting. Learn all about the different vines and stuff that survive.
So, what was your, out of all the things you've mentioned, what was your favorite thing to do when you had downtime to just do what you wanted?
Go play golf. I learned how to play over there, and that became sort of like my passion. That's what I did during my off time.
Yeah.
Did a lot of golf.
A lot of buddies to play with.
Yeah, I met some different people. I played a lot by myself. I like people, but I guess I was sort of a loner on that. Like I say, just learning. I guess I didn't want to embarrass myself with other people around. But that's what I did.
Okay. Let's see. Did you make any close friendships while you were there?
Just while we were there, the Air Force is not like the Army or all the other branches where you travel in squadrons or whatever. I mean, we went as individuals. I went to the Philippines by myself both times, left by myself. So, I mean, it was different. You make friends, but they were like friends while you were there, and then once you left, it was basically over with.
Okay.
While I was in the Philippines, though, they had a sort of, I guess it's natural occurrence. It started raining, torrential downpour, and it happened about the time that some statue of Jesus was stolen from one of the Catholic churches.
Uh-huh.
And it started raining, and it didn't quit for over 50 days and nights. And it was flooding, and we had to get helicopters, and we were sending relief out to the different people and all of that. And due to our efforts, we got an accommodation from the Philippine government, which I knew I'd gotten one, but I couldn't remember what it was. And I had my wife look it up on the internet last night, and it was from the Philippine Public Utilities Commission for our efforts in assisting them during their flooding. And it quit raining when the statue was recovered, so it sort of went in with their superstition and everything.
So, do you recall any particular humorous, that's an unusual event, the rain, but do you recall any particular humorous event or events that took place while you were there?
No, other than jungle survival, I got tired of hiding and I gave myself up. I mean, they couldn't find me, which I thought was unusual. Like I say, there were stories of guys beating their watches with sticks because they thought it was a snake. Because back at that time when all the watches had the glow faces on them, with the what that stuff's called, the green paint they used to paint on the watch dials. And it looked like snake eyes, and they'd beat the crud out of their watches with sticks and stuff. And now, like I say, it was mainly pretty uneventful. Like I say, I just had a good time. Wish I would have taken advantage of more of the trips I could have taken, but I didn't.
And let's see. Did you sleep in barracks? I assume you did.
When I first went over there, I did. Stayed in the bachelor airman's quarters. And then when my wife came over, we lived off base for, I don't know, 2, 3, 4, 5 months. And then we got on base housing, which living off base was different because everybody had maids and people that did the yards because everybody worked so cheap over there, the locals did. And I don't remember if I had one or not. If I did, it wasn't very long when I lived off base. But
so you said you were there when the Vietnam War ended. And what was the reaction? Like your reaction and maybe the general reaction?
Well, like I say, I joined the Air Force because, like I say, I'm not a hero or anything. I've done my part in helping people and doing things that were dangerous, but when I thought about joining, because I knew I'd probably get drafted, I basically thought of where was the safest place for me to be, and I also take in consideration where I like to sleep. Do I want to sleep at the Holiday Inn, or do I want to sleep out in a cow pasture somewhere? And I picked the Air Force because we stayed in hotels mainly, and wasn't anything camping outside. And like I said, that was my basic reasoning for joining the Air Force. I figured my chance to go into Vietnam and getting killed would be a lot less in the Air Force, which is true. I mean, we had Air Force personnel over in Vietnam and ones that got killed. But like I said, I just happened to be fortunate, and I just went to Clark Air Base. But like I say, I have no regrets. The only regret is I wish I would have made a career out of it instead of getting out after 7 years.
And what led you to get out? Were you just ready at the time, or?
Well, I'd gotten a divorce and had met another lady, and we sort of hit it off. And I was, like I say, first time home in 7 years. And I just said the heck with it. And then it wasn't, I don't know, 3 or 4 months later, I decided I was going to go back in. I said, I made more money when I was in there because I was on flying status at the time, which I got more money for doing that. And when I went to go back in, when I got out, they had forgot to put the re-enlistment code on my DD-214. And so by the time I got, it took them like 6 months. Of course, that's back during the days of snail mail, and they'd had the big fire in St. Louis where all the records were kept. And like I say, it was like 6 months later before I got a response back, and I'd already said the heck with it and decided I'd just be a civilian.
Okay. So when you returned home, then what did you do? Did you Did you try, you said you didn't like school, so you probably didn't try schooling.
No.
No. Went into a job and just started civilian life?
Yeah, I went to work at a moving company. I was the warehouse manager, and like I say, didn't much care for it, and I went back to one thing I used to like to do in school, and that was drafting, and I got into the electrical design field, and that's what I did for 7 years, and that's what I did with my GI Bill.
Okay.
I did on-the-job training for drafting electrical work. And like I said, the only problem was that it didn't pay all that well, but
Yeah.
back then, minimum wage, I think I was making like $3.25 an hour.
Yeah.
So,
Was it difficult to switch when you came back from being in the military to being a civilian?
no, because like I say, to me, the Air Force is just like any job. When you got off work, you were off work. I mean, I pulled KP one time when I was in the military, and that was in boot camp, and that was one day. Where a lot of guys pull KP and they do barracks and all that. And we never did that. So, like I say, it's to me, it's just like a regular job. You put your uniform on at 8 o'clock in the morning or whatever shift you happen to be working, and 5 o'clock you took it off and put your other civilian clothes on, and went to dinner, went bowled, do whatever.
Sure.
So, like I say, it's completely different from what I've told from the other branches.
Okay. Did you join any veterans organizations?
I was in the American Legion for a while. The BFW wouldn't accept us because we didn't see in-country service, so not eligible for them, which I thought was pretty much crap, but again, did the American Legion thing for a while, and then the one where I lived at shut down, so we didn't have one. So, like I say, I haven't been a member of it. I started truck driving after a few years, and that's what I did for like the past 20. Drove a truck. And that didn't induce a whole lot of friendships or joining anything other than working.
How do you feel, and I know you said it's kind of the same as civilian life, but do you feel there's any way that the military has helped or affected your civilian life since you've been out?
Well, yes, I'd say so, because I'm one of the guys, I try to play by the rules at all time. I'm not perfect by any means, but I believe in you go by the rules. No matter what the circumstances are, you may not agree with them, but I'm like everybody else. You do break them occasionally, but it's not like I'm going to do it all the time on purpose or anything like that. But it gives you structure.
Okay.
That's what a lot of things are based off of, law enforcement and all sorts of things. I've got a son-in-law now that's in the Army, and he's deployed over in Europe right now, or Middle East. And so, like I say, I believe in the military strongly.
So how did your military experience influence your thinking about about war, or maybe the military in general? Did it change your mindset any, or how did it affect you? Well,
I think we're way too fast to try to be big brother to everybody. Vietnam veterans were, and still are, not looked on favorably. We're still the dung heap, in my opinion. And a lot has changed for the new veterans, because they're getting treated a whole lot better. And I think it's because of the Vietnam veterans that are saying, we were treated like crap, so we're going to insist that y'all be treated better. And they are. They are definitely treated better than what the Vietnam veterans were.
Well, if there's anything that you could say to future generations who might see or hear your interview today, what would you say to them? This is the greatest country in the world.
you've got to back it and support it regardless of who's in charge. You may not like it, but that's, unless you want to leave or do something that's not right, like I say, you got to support your people. If you don't, you have nothing.
Well, I want to thank you very much for taking time to talk with me and share your story, and I thank you for your service to our country.
Thank you.